Hi, this is Brian with ActiveMelody.com. In this week's guitar lesson, you're going to learn how to play a solo by playing chords. We're not going to be thinking about scales so much this week, but we're going to be thinking about chords and different chord voicings on the neck. And how do you pull out notes out of those chords to create a more meaningful, melodic sounding solo? It's a different approach than just taking a standard lead break where you think about a scale. You're really adding to the music when you play this way. So I'm going to break down everything note for note, show you how to play it, but show you where those notes come from so that you can start to use this style when you improvise or when you write your own music. I've got this lesson split into two parts. In this video, we'll take a look at the first half. If you'd like to watch the second half and get the tablature and get the MP3 jam track so that you can practice putting it all together, you can get that by going to ActiveMelody.com, go to the weekly lessons page, and do a search for EP280. So this composition was heavily influenced by Roy Orbison. I'm a huge fan of his work, I always have been, and I've been listening to a lot of Roy stuff lately. I don't know why, just sort of came on my radar, and I'm doing a deep dive, and everything I can learn about Roy Orbison I'm trying to learn. And that's how I tend to do it. I get into one artist and I hyper-focus. So I started with the Traveling Wilburys, which led me down a bunch of paths, and right now I'm just really studying Roy Orbison and his songwriting style in particular. I think he's very clever with the way that he comes up with chord arrangements, mixing major and minor chords, and then putting a memorable melody line on top of that. And that's really my approach to trying to play good lead guitar, is to try and create something that fits into the song in a clever way. You're not just playing just for the sake of playing. You know, it's a different way of doing that. And one of the best ways to do that is to play out of these chord shapes. And that's what we're going to be doing in this lesson. We're going to take these different chord shapes and we're going to be picking the notes out of those chords, those chord tones. And that really colors your solo and makes it fit into the song a lot better. So I was trying to think about what would I play if I was playing on a Roy Orbison record. You know, I wouldn't just go into your typical lead break playing single string, you know, scales and things. It just doesn't seem like it would fit as well as this style of playing. If you haven't checked out the Black and White Night record, which is a live record that came out in the late 80s, Roy Orbison record, it's one of the best live recordings you'll ever hear. It's perfect. It sounds like a studio recording, and it's just phenomenal. It's one of the. It's really worth checking out if you haven't done that. Okay, so as I was listening to Roy, one thing I noticed in his rhythm style was this rhythm style where he goes da 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 da, and the drummer will follow that as well. And I don't know, I'm assuming that's his songwriting style. Maybe that's what he does on a guitar, and then it just sort of becomes the song. But I hear that in a lot of Roy Orbison songs, and so I wanted to do something similar in that rhythm style. And this song starts, and it's in the key of G, and it starts with a little intro that goes back and forth between a G chord and a C minor chord. You got a major chord and a minor chord, back to back. So that's what we're going to be playing over. So just keep that in mind, G, C minor. Okay, so the first thing that I played goes like this. So let's break that down. It makes a lot of sense when you think about the chord shapes. So I start off just playing a G major bar chord, but I'm only playing the top 4 strings. I don't need all 6 of them. So to do that, you're just going to bar the first 2 strings there on the 3rd fret, middle finger on the 4th fret, 3rd string, ring finger on the 5th fret, 4th string, and brush that chord with a downstroke, and then that frees your pinky up to be able to do some other things. That's part of the reason I make the chord this way, so that I can come up here and go. That's a pull-off. So my pinky goes down on the 5th fret, 1st string, and I do an upstroke with the right hand. So it's, and then I played that 3rd fret, 2nd string, which is behind the bar there. So that's the first thing. And notice how easy that is to remember, because you're just really playing the chord. But you're creating a little melody out of that chord. Okay, so that's where the song switches to the C minor, and what I played there is, even though it's single string, it's really coming out of this chord shape. So if you think about playing a C minor chord like this is using the A minor chord shape out of Caged. So we're playing it right here, we're barring on the 3rd fret, but I don't play the chord, I just go, because that's all I need out of that. So I start there on that 3rd fret, 2nd string, and I'm bending to this note, which is the 4th fret, 2nd string. And you can see that note is in the chord, in the minor chord. So I'm just bending to that, then releasing, and then I'm coming down here to the 5th fret 3rd string, which is also in the chord. So that's what I'm trying to do, just kind of highlight the notes out of that chord. It's almost like you're tracing around it a little bit. So from the beginning we have... Now when you're doing that bend on the 3rd fret 2nd string, it's a half bend. So you're only going up 1 fret. You're not doing a... That's way too much. Just a half bend. Even if you're short of a half bend, that'll work as well, but just a slight bend. Okay, so then the song goes back to the G and I play. And you can see what I'm doing there. If I played this G bar chord, it's just the notes out of that chord. But the only difference is I did this little hammer on. So I started there on the 5th fret 4th string, and then I bar the first 3 strings on the 3rd fret, playing strings 2 and 3, and you do a hammer on with your middle finger to the 4th fret 3rd string. And that's what is, I call that building a chord. That's how I think of it. I'm just building that G chord. And then from there, ring finger goes down. These are just the notes in that chord. That's the 5th fret 4th string. And then middle finger comes up here and hits the 5th fret 5th string. So all together that part goes. All right, from the beginning we have... Now the song goes back to the C minor again, and I play just up the C minor scale. Now in this point I'm actually not playing a chord, so I'm cheating a little bit here. It starts on the 5th fret 5th string, then it goes up to the 5th fret 6th string, 3rd fret 4th string, 5th fret 4th string, up to the 7th fret 4th string. And the reason I came up here is because the next position, my ring finger is going to be up on the 9th fret 4th string, but that allows me to play the G chord up in this position. So altogether that walk up sounds like this. So then to play this chord, just remember when you're doing the walk up, use your ring finger to walk up to that 9th fret 4th string, and then let your index finger bar the first 3 strings on the 7th fret so that your middle finger can lay down on the 8th fret 2nd string. You're only going to play strings 4, 3, and 2. And you can see what that is. That's that, if you think of the C chord shape, that's what that is out of Caged. I'm just playing those middle 3 strings out of it. 4, 3, and 2. This is why Caged is so important, because if I know that this is a G chord, and this is a G chord, and this is a G chord, and I can keep going with my G chords, then I can start to pull melodies out of them anywhere on the neck. That's how you can start to create these melodies with chord shapes. It's just finding the different voicings. And the more that you're comfortable with it, the faster you'll be, and you'll be able to actually do this in real time and improvise this kind of stuff. Okay, so from... that's how we walk up to that G chord. All right, let's take it from the intro. Okay, now this is where the song goes in. So we're out of the intro now. We're into the verse. And the verse goes like this. G, E minor, B minor, D. And then that repeats. So G, E minor, B minor, and D. And so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to think about those chords, those 4 chords, G, E minor, B, and D, but think about them up here. So I know I've got this G here. And then the next chord is an E minor. It's right there. That's using the A minor chord shape out of Caged. And then the next one is B minor. Look at that. It's right there. That's using the E minor chord shape. And then the next chord was a D, which is right there as well. That's your A chord shape. I'm just playing a little D triad. So all of those chords now, you can play them all in one spot on the neck without having to move all over the place. And what we're going to do is we're going to weave in a melody line out of those chord shapes. Now I started with that G chord like this. The next thing I play goes Now look at what's happening there. So the next chord is at E minor. I'm not playing the E minor, but you should see a similarity from what we did over the C minor. Remember we played the C? This is the same technique. Right here's where the E minor is though. And instead of playing that chord, I'm going to do the same thing I did over that C minor chord. So I'm going to do that half bend. I'm going to start it here on the 7th fret, 2nd string, bend and release, and then I'm going to come down to the 9th fret, 3rd string. So backing up from this E, 2, 3, 4. There's that E minor chord. Now if you want to do something different there, look at that E minor chord and you could go. You can pick the notes out of the chord that way if you want, if that's easier or sounds better to your ear. You can start to experiment with it, but that's what I like to do is play that. And you'll hear that lick in a lot of the stuff that I do. It's just a lick that I like to do because it's predictable. I know how to come up with it. I know how to use it. And you do too now. Now if you're playing something with a minor chord, you can throw in that lick and it's always going to work. Okay, from that G then, 2, 3, 4. Now the next chord is that B minor. And what I did there was I'm thinking about your B minor here, where you bar all 6 strings on the 7th fret, and then these 2 fingers are on the 9th fret, strings 5 and 4. Just like an E minor chord, but you're playing it up here. But I don't need all 6 strings. All I need is the top 4 strings. So I'm going to bar the first 3 strings on the 7th fret with my index finger. My ring finger goes down the 9th fret, 4th string. And I just do a downstroke playing the top part of that B minor chord. And then my pinky goes down on the 10th fret, 1st string. Just adds that extra note. But that becomes part of the melody. Now, a takeaway for you is to remember what just happened here over that minor chord. So now using this chord shape, I have this note that I can work in. That works anywhere over any minor chord. So if you're playing a G minor, and you know why, if you think about the G minor pentatonic scale, that's what I'm doing. I'm just playing the top 2 notes out of that pattern 1 of the minor pentatonic scale. That's another way to think about it anyway. That's how I think about it. So that's what we're doing there. Out of the B minor chord. And then the next chord is a D chord. And what I'm thinking about is, look how convenient that is. If I keep this bar here and I just move it up 1 string, so now I'm barring the first 4 strings on the 7th fret, and I play strings 4, 3, and 2. Look at that. If I think of the D chord shape, the D chord using the A chord shape, that's all I'm doing is I'm playing that little triad out of that. You can play that anywhere in the neck. Play a major chord just by barring it there and playing strings 4, 3, and 2. So that's just very convenient that it's right there. So now, after the B minor chord, I went and played that. So I'm hybrid picking that. So I'm picking on the 4th string, middle finger on the 3rd string, ring finger on the 2nd string. You don't have to hybrid pick. You can use your flat pick. You can flat pick all of them, but I think you're going to find it easier to hybrid pick this. So it's 4, 3, 2. And then I keep the bar there, middle finger goes down on the 8th fret, 2nd string, pinky goes down on the 10th fret, 2nd string. Isn't that a nice effect? That's another takeaway. Use that in other things now. So if you were playing in C, for example, you've got this nice little melody you can work out. You can even throw in a harmony. So remember that and start using these licks when you play, when you write, when you improvise. That's how you become a great guitar player, is by taking advantage of these things. All right, let's take it from the beginning all the way up to and play up to where we are. So we have. Even without the chords underneath it, you can hear what's going on musically because I'm playing enough of the chords to hint at it. Okay, so now the song repeats. We go back to the G. Remember the chords, G, E minor, B minor, D. So now we're going to play the G minor up here. And look at what I'm doing. This should be familiar territory to you because I'm barring the first 4 strings. I'm playing strings 4, 3, and 2. I'm hybrid picking on the 4th string, plucking on strings 2 and 3. My ring finger comes up here to the 15th fret, 2nd string. That's a stretch on this guitar because there's no cutaway. But look at what's happening there. This is the same thing we did over that D, for that D chord. And so hopefully that starts to go, a light bulb goes off in your head and you realize, oh, okay, so wait a minute. So that's just he's playing the G chord using the A chord shape and doing that little triad. It's the same thing we did here. And so technically I could play that triad for any major chord, anywhere on the neck, but that's what we're doing now, is we're just moving it up to this position so that I can keep the melody kind of going up. Now the next chord after the G was an E minor, and look how convenient this is. Because I've got the top 3 strings there on the 12th fret is an E minor. Think your E minor chord, 1, 2, 3. They're just an octave higher there, so I can play that. My ring finger comes up here to the 14th fret, 1st string, and then I went, that's a hammer-on pull-off between that 12th fret and the 14th fret on the 1st string. Okay, the next chord then was a B minor, and so the way I played that was right here, and that's using the D minor chord shape out of the Cage system. That will be covered in EP275, so I'm not going to go over that again. But check that out if you're not sure how I'm playing a B minor chord here. But you can see you got a B minor, you got another voicing for it here. And so that's what I did, was I played these 3 strings, 4, 3, and 2. By the way, these 3 fingers make up that D7 chord shape. If you think of a D7 down in 1st position, you're going to play that now, your pinky and your ring finger on the 12th fret, strings 2 and 4. So I played those, and then I played an upstroke on that 1st string there, which is the 10th fret 1st string, which is part of the chord. All right, let's back it up from where we start the G chord down here. 2, 3, 4. There's your E minor, B minor, D. Now we're going to come up to the G, E minor, B minor, and then we go back to the D again. And look at how I'm playing the D. I'm just thinking about a D bar chord, which is right there. It's all in the same neighborhood. This is why learning those different chord voicings are so important, because you can always look wherever you're playing a chord. You can find the nearest neighbor that's usually somewhere really close to where you're at. Actually, it's always somewhere really close to where you're at. There's always another version of it nearby. And so the way that I played that was like this. So I'm barring the first 2 strings there on the 10th fret. Middle finger is down on the 11th fret 3rd string. Ring finger's on the 12th fret 4th string. And then pinky goes down on the 12th fret 1st string. And then there's a pull off. So you gotta do an upstroke with the right hand. And then the pinky does a pull off. So, and this is where the song switches and we go into another part. Now this other part has a C chord, a D chord, and a G chord, and then a B7 major chord. So those are the 4 chords now we're going to play over. And so from this D chord, I'm going to start off by going to the C chord, and to get to that, I can just walk it down 2 steps. So if that's my D, this is my C. Just C bar chord, right? It's just 2 steps down from the D. And the melody that I played goes like this. You can hear and I'm just playing them out of those chords. There's my C chord, and I'm going to hit the 2nd string. Pinky goes down on the 10th fret 2nd string. And then I slide it up. Pinky's going up to the 12th fret 2nd string. And I play the D chord again. So backing up from the C, we have. And And then the song goes back to the G chord, and I went. So all I'm doing there is I'm keeping that bar on the 10th fret 2nd string, hitting both of those strings, downstroke with the right hand. Then I come up to the 12th fret 2nd string. I do a half bend, which is this note. And then watch this. That's the 12th fret 2nd string, 3rd string, and 4th string all together. And look at what those notes are. That should look familiar. How do we know that? Oh yeah, it's the G chord, because we're playing over G chord. And that's why it sounds so good and so almost like planned out, because you're just targeting the notes right out of the chord. Okay, so actually I'm going to end this first part there. We've covered a lot of information. The second half we'll get into the rest of it. But let me back up from the beginning now and play everything up to this point. And if you've got the jam track, you're going to want to definitely play along with that. It keeps you in time, and it's the best way to sort of cement all of this stuff in your mind. Okay, so let's play through this, and then I'll see you in part 2 for the rest of this. All right, so 1, 2, 3, 4.